Well, my kid is going back to school. He's not going to be my apprentice anymore. Thank God! No, to be honest, I have to say, like, the coolest experience of my life so far has been getting to work with my kid every day. So he started, once school finished, like immediately he started as an apprentice. And he's kind of came up with me over the years, you know, going out to job sites. He knew how to use drills and he knew how to put a plug in and stuff like that. He's been around this stuff quite a bit, and I've drug him around to job sites because I was a single dad forever and I couldn't leave him at home. He's like 4, 6, whatever. So how did he do? I think he did insanely good. I was really expecting him to be way lazier and to not have a good work ethic, not because that's who he is, but because this is Texas and it's 110 degrees outside and it sucks and you can't dig and we have to constantly dig. And I just thought it was going to be me like pulling him through the whole thing. And really, again, not like I know him. I know who he is. He's a miniature me. So there shouldn't have been really an issue. But I talked to a lot of other people about having these young kids out there that have just been like in screens nonstop their whole life and never really had to go and do any like physical demanding work. And a lot of them are like, dude, these kids just like, they're not even here. They're on their phone and they're trying to get to their phone. And they want to know what's going on with their phone nonstop. And it's like, dude, you're getting paid 8 hours to work, so fucking work. My kid, he and I will sit and play Clash Royale at lunchtime. We will sit and do some 2v2s. And we've got kind of I don't want to say an unbeatable deck. We've got a really good deck. We've been playing forever. We're clanned up in the same clan. We're in a good clan. We win a lot. But we finally found these 2 decks. Comment below if you play Clash Royale and you want to see our deck, and maybe I'll do a video on that. That has nothing to do with Electrician and you, but about our Clash Royale decks. So, like we would sit and goof off, but the cool thing about the nature of my son's relationship and my son's relationship together, is that we always talk shit to each other anyways. So like being out in the field, the natural like punking on each other for stuff, I don't know, it just brought it to another level. Plus we're just sitting in a truck like all day, every day, driving out to jobs, or like we're wiring houses, like throwing winer nuts at each other and stuff. Like, I don't know, man, it was one of the coolest experiences that I've gotten to have with him, like above going on vacations and trips. I don't know, snowboarding was pretty dope too. Can't take that away. But this was just a lot of fun. So what I will say is, out of him, I saw a very hard work ethic, and that's what impressed me the most. When I told him like, yo, go get those, bring them over here, there was never like a bitching or like slow, complaining ever. If he was on his phone because there was nothing going on, and I'm like, yo, hey, go get this, he would just be like, and go over and immediately do it. And he works diligently. So like he enjoys doing something and it being done really well, and he stays working diligently, and he's not like over fucking around, and he's not wasting time. Like when he's got his tools on and it is time to work, he goes to work, and he works the same way that I do. And honestly, I think at the age he's at versus where I was at, I was 22, I think, when I started, I think he has a better temperament about him at 17. Yeah, he's 17. Did I say 18? Whatever. At 17, he's got a better like temperament for how to approach doing this work than I did at 22. I was like a bull in a china cabinet. I was just like trying to like prove who I was, like prove my worth, and like I really wanted to like, I guess, impress the people around me because I wanted to climb the ranks, right? But I was also just a hard worker in general, but I kind of like overthought things, and I broke things, and like, I was never on my phone or dicking around or anything like that. But I think that the way that I problem solve too, I'm a very creative person. So I kind of like go outside of the problem to try to come back in it, where like he's a very left brain, like linear thinker. So like his way to just problem solve or come up with solutions for things, I think he has a brain for this stuff at 17 that's probably better than the brain I had for this at 22. And he really liked it. Like he honestly said, I don't want to go to college. This is dope. I would love to just do this every day, record YouTube videos and do electrical work, wire houses. Now, the thing that I know if I asked him, and maybe I will, maybe I'll do like another video like this where I sit and do a video with him and he can explain to you what he liked and hated. The thing that sucks is like right now I'm running somebody else's company. If you don't know the whole story behind that, guy that I really respect, like one of the best men I know, and I will never work for somebody ever again except this dude. Got into an accident. He lost his arm, like really bad accident actually, like a head-on collision, 2 big trucks. Crushed all of his ribs, shattered his leg. Like dude's been fucked up for months and he's still having to deal with issues. So anyways, I stepped in to kind of like help whatever, you know? And so that means that my role is to make sure jobs get done by like everybody else and making sure the schedule is going out and everything and going and looking at jobs, meeting with builders, all of it, right? Everything he was doing. But I also have all my own jobs. That I've got like big crews that I have to run jobs, and most of the jobs that I've got going on are like these long-term drag-on jobs. And funny enough, every single one of them we've got to dig like ridiculous undergrounds for. So he spent most of the time we're just like wiring homes, right? Or like wiring businesses, doing commercial work, whatever. He spent his entire summer in 105, 110 degree heat digging. We dug so much, and I think his perspective on this job is like, fuck being an electrician. All we do is dig things. I have a shovel in my hand. His hands are torn up because we have rock bars here in Texas. We can get 6 inches down in the soil, and that's about it. It's solid bedrock. All of Central Texas is like one solid rock. And so like we're like just trying to get these big rock bars to like break rock by hand all day in the heat, no cloud cover, super hot, like dehydrated. And so I think his perspective on all of this is like, that's all we do. And I told him, I'm like, no, dude, I'm just the one that has to make sure everybody else has stuff that's up to their capability. You know, like some of our guys are like newer and they can't take on a 10,000 square foot custom home. Or some of them have no commercial experience whatsoever. So if I'm gonna throw them into a commercial job, I have to be there with them to kind of like make sure everything's fine and do calculations for them and like show and teach and then like just keep a close eye. And so I can't do all of that and be over here doing all of my jobs that I've got to get done. So it just ended up that I would kind of like clear out the tracks so that the train could keep moving, and I would make sure everybody was put where they needed to be put for them to be successful, and then I took the shit leftovers. Not just me. There's an old guy at the company that I call him an old guy. He's really not that fucking old. He would probably hate me for calling him an old guy. Older gentleman. Older than I by like 2 decades, gentleman. Fantastic electrician, actually one of the best electricians I've ever seen. So between he and I, we're like trying to keep the ship going, but he gets a lot of the shit work too, just because we can, right? We get a customer that's like, hey, I need to size a generator and figure out if this service is big enough for this, or like, hey, we want to put some phase converters in an airport. So like, I can't just send random people. I have to be the person that goes and looks at all of that to figure out how we're going to do it, where we're going to get materials, all of that kind of stuff. So it ended up that Josh and I got the shit leftovers, and a lot of the shit leftovers were driving Mini X's and digging, and we dug all summer long. I had a commercial job that we did all of the site work for. We had to dig like 300 feet of underground. We had to put 3 4-inch PVC Schedule 80 conduits all the way 90 them up where we're gonna have this big MDP. We had to deal with the utility company and getting inspections and all of that. We had to run communications across the property. So like that took 2 people driving 2 Mini X's, weeks to do. Well, not just that, we also had all these parking lot poles, light poles. There's 7 of them on the property. And this property's huge. So like we're going all around the outside of this property to try to get all these conduits connected. And then we had sub panels inside the building. So we had to dig from the main distribution panel, the MDP, We had to go inside and dig all of these undergrounds into the slab and get all of that put together. So it was just like that one job took us weeks and weeks and weeks, and we were just out there in the heat digging. So Josh probably hated that. And then I'm like, hey dude, we have another job. Gotta go drive a Mini X over here. It was to some one of the ranches that we did. There's like a compound for hunters, and there's 4 buildings on this compound, and they did all of the underground, like not even an electrician, just I think the builder hired somebody or something, I don't know. They put a bunch of conduits in and they were all fucked up and none of them worked where they were supposed to go. Some of them like stubbed up 3 feet away from the house, and it's like, dude, you gotta go up next to the house. We're gonna put a meter here, or we're gonna put like a panel or something here, but like why the fuck is this like cocked at a 45-degree angle 3 feet away from the building? Just dumb shit like that we had to fix. So we're like digging all of that up. Then at the end, they're like, hey, we want to add solar. Where? Well, on the buildings, like on the roofs of the buildings. I'm like, you realize the service is 300 feet away from the buildings, all of them? Where? So 2 of the buildings we ended up having to retrench after they had already trenched all of this kind of fucked up underground. We had to retrench on top of all of the other conduits. So I ended up like ripping up our conduits in several different places, and I knew I was going to, so I just brought extra conduit out there with me. But I spent days out there with a Mini X just digging. And again, I say days, those of you in like Wisconsin where you could dig a hole to China and never even see a pebble, I'm talking like hard Texas boulders that you either have to get a piece of equipment with a hammer on it to try to hammer through, or get a jackhammer or something like that. Some of the stuff a Mini X just will not get through. So it was just days and days of digging, and then you got to hand clean out a bunch of different things. And if you're going to get close to buildings, you got to do all that by hand, and it's shit digging because it's so hard that you have to do everything with a rock bar. So there was that job like immediately after the other commercial one, and Josh was like, for real, dude, we have to do that again? I'm like, yeah, we do. Where was the next one? Oh, and then we had another one. We just finished this one last week. We had a job that was out at a lake, and the property's 475 feet from the service at the front of the property all the way down to the boat dock. And they wanted to get their boat dock powered because this guy bought like a $300,000 wakeboarding boat and wanted to be able to park it in the cradles and the lifts and, raise it up. And so we had to dig a trench that was fucking 475 feet and bury huge conductors. Because I ran like temporary power down there. I ran, I think, 4.3 all the way down there thinking, like that's 65, 70 amp wire. That should be fine enough to lift those boats. And it ended up that it wouldn't lift the boat because the boat's almost 7,000 pounds. So that little 15 amp motor is really, really straining to lift. So it would lift, but it wouldn't get all the way up, or it wouldn't get all the way back down. So we were having like severe voltage drop issues. Normally, like you do a voltage drop calculation and everything ends up panning out. I even asked engineers, electrical engineers, I'm like, dude, this 4-aught over this whole, or this number 4 aluminum over this whole distance is still not lifting this boat. And it was just, with fuel, it's like another 700 pounds worth of fuel. And then the amount of number 12 that we had that ran through the dock, underneath the dock, over the boathouse, into the panel, there's probably like an extra 75 feet or so of wire that we weren't really accounting for. So it was just like right on the verge. So even our voltage drop calculations were like saying, oh, it's going to drop 4 amps. And I have my multimeter out there. And I'm like, this is 30 extra amps that it shouldn't be. So there's something wrong here. So it was definitely a voltage drop issue. But it was just temp wire anyways, because we're building a house on the property too. So it was just like, guy wanted to use his boat for the summer, and that was all there was to it. So we ended up replacing that wire and putting the permanent run in, which I ran 3-aught ungrounded conductors, which 3-aught with HOTS, 3-aught copper though. So like 4 times the size of wire and copper. And then I think I ran a 2-aught neutral and a number 2 ground. I had to dig this crazy ass long trench again, but this one, the property from where the service is goes up and then in the middle of the property starts to go back down, and then at the end of the property by the boat, they had to dig out this whole area for them to build a dropped wall, and then that's where the water level was. So they built a dock, and then there's this huge, probably like 6-8 foot wall of dirt. So getting the Mini X, we had to take the trench and dig as far down as that bucket would go. So we started out probably about 24 inches deep. We ended up going to about like 8 or 9 feet deep just to get through, you know, like at the top of the property's up here, we got a cliff, and then we've got to get under the dirt over here. We had to like slope that thing down enough just to get underneath and still be at depth for our burial coverage. So dude, that was another thing where it was just like, Jesus, we have had shovels in our hands for so long. So sorry, Josh, you had a whole lot of digging this summer. It did get to wire some homes. We had a job out by the lake that was like really nice, just a beautiful, probably a 5,000 square foot custom home. So not too big. But the crappy thing on that job, actually, it seems like every job we worked on was like some level of shittiness. That job, instead of just being able to wire it, we were beam locked everywhere. So we had huge LVLs everywhere in this place downstairs. So for us to get from our sub panels in the garage to like anywhere else downstairs, we had to go through the garage with our home runs. We had to go up to the second story, up into the ceiling, or up in, you know, the attic, and run all the way across the house, come back down on the other side, and run over to the rooms that we wanted to. So like each home run's probably like 150 to 200 feet long. It was fucking stupid. So just dealing with all of these crazy long pulls, and then you know you have all your reels on the ground and you're pulling everything, but you have to pull from the middle point. You don't want to pull from the end because you've got like 700 turns and 90s and stuff, so you'd never get the wire through. So we would like run half of the house for our home runs, and then we'd have to pull out and roll out, still on the roll, all of the rest of our conductors and get over there, and then go downstairs and take tape measures and figure out like how long do we need to cut these, and then lay them out and sit there with tape measures and go, all right, I think this is it. Let's pull another 5 feet just in case, cut it. And then we'd had all these to like manage all these wires. It was just a nightmare. So I think he kind of had like a shit summer. And Josh, if you're watching this, dude, it's not normally like that. You were just working with me, and I have to do all the stuff everybody else can't. That's just how it goes. If you were working with one of the other guys that's like honed in on one project and that's all they're doing, I think you would have had such more of a like just chill time. But I have to say, all in all, you killed it, dude. I'm super proud of you. I'm really happy that you have a really strong work ethic and that you work diligently. And when something's in front of you, you take pride in what you do. I think like just those traits alone are so difficult to find in people these days. And it seems with the younger generations, it's like fading more and more. There's kind of like this old school thing that's being lost, and unfortunately that's just how it's going to be. So it's up to us like middle-aged guys to try to keep that burning. There's also a couple times I yelled at Josh. Fucker. He would just do stupid shit from time to time. Leaving ladders on jobs. Granted, you know, I didn't check either, so it's partially my fault. I always owned up to that. If you fuck something up, I'm like, dude, it's all right. I didn't see it either. Don't worry about it. But there was this one time where he dropped a piece of Schedule 80 PVC on my head. It was probably like a 3-inch, and he was supposed to grab onto this conduit, and I was cutting down below. So I'm like bent down looking at where I'm cutting, and I'm like, just grab this and make sure that it doesn't fall. So he's got his hands on it, and I don't know if he's like off looking at the road or something like that. I get through this thing and it falls square on top of my head, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but we were out in the sun. I think he had fucked a couple of other things up. Like he would go to the truck and I'd be like, hey, get the Sawzall, and he'd come back with a screwdriver, kind of shit all day long. And I was just irritated already for having to like be the one that goes and does everything myself, because he just doesn't know shit yet, you know? That's just part of it all. But him dropping this fucking conduit on my head was the last straw, and dude, I lit him up for that. I was so fucking mad. And then I think later that day, I think I hit my head like 3 more times, just in a fucked up ceiling or something like that. I remember just hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. And by the end of the day, I was like, I'm fucking done with this day. I'm so pissed. But that only happened once. So like, you know, we'd get on each other's nerves every once in a while, and then we'd get back in the truck and be like, yo, so what anime are we watching tonight? You know, like we just have that kind of relationship. So dude, again, super proud of you. You fucking killed it. I'd love to have you right seat any day of the week, man. You're a great apprentice. So thank you guys for watching. That's all I got for you. Love you crazy fuckers, and I'll see you in the next one.